I don't know who found that photo, but I love it. I haven't seen that in ages. But you know, it represents a piece of what I'm all about today. Science, right? I remember wearing that in Canyonlands when we went down to see Bears Ears some years ago, and my wife got me this shirt that represents the eons past, deep, deep time and all. And I just, well, let me just say, I'm going to talk a little bit about indigenous culture and indigenous perspectives today, and a thing called traditional ecological knowledge as well. Traditional knowledge is science. There's no separation there, and I think we need to get our heads around the fact that although a lot of you are engaged in scientific innovation, entrepreneurship, technical innovation, all of those things, the doing of science has been taking place on Turtle Island here in North America for a long, long time. So let me just say, Sego, Sawagwego. I'm greeting you guys in the Mohawk language. The Haudenosaunee, the Iroquois Confederacy, we're based way thousands of miles to the northeast. But you'll find that tribes have a lot in common once they start talking with one another. We're in Shoshone and Bannock territory here. And I learned just 2 summers ago when I was working on a project at the Wind River Range that our creation stories are very similar. The creation story of the Haudenosaunee and the creation story of the Shoshone peoples. So there are connections going back who knows how long. There used to be trade routes across this continent that stretched for thousands of miles 1,000 years ago. And people were connected in ways that it's very difficult to kind of do that archaeology and ethnography and ethnohistory to really uncover that stuff. But part of my job as a journalist really is to write about indigenous culture that's happening today and to try to elevate that in some sense for people who are curious about such things. I'm also a local journalist. I have a staff job at the local newspaper, the world famous Idaho Mountain Express. And a few years ago, I think it was 2 or 3 summers ago, I got a press release at my news desk from the Biden administration. And I get a lot of press releases, but this one was really interesting. It was a direction, an executive order from the White House to consider and elevate traditional ecological knowledge in land use practices on public lands in the United States. Now that was marvelous enough, of course. But I read the press release, and I don't know, 1 or 2 sentences down, I remember conferring with my Facebook buddy Larry Echohawk about this, because there were a lot of people going, wow, where did this come from? There was a sentence that included words like biology, social or sociological, and also spiritual, all in the same sentence. And I thought something is really going on out there. Not long after that, we had the Secretary of the Interior, her appointment, Deb Haaland, a Native woman from New Mexico, Charles Sams in charge of the National Park Service. I feel like indigenous culture is going mainstream, you know? And I feel like the American dream is in for a reboot. Now, I want to say that indigenous culture is something that can root us to something more elemental than consumer culture. And you don't have to look far for this. I'm going to share a project that I'm working on with the Shoshone Bannock tribes that is a very small piece of one tribe's relationship, reciprocity, honoring, and yes, spiritual connection with the natural world. This is something, you don't have to be indigenous to have an indigenous sensibility. It helps, but we are all here because we're doing the good work that Amy has created this family of people to address the issues of the natural world. If you feel that you want to learn more about my project or make a tax-deductible donation, please find me. I'll be here throughout the week. Thank you very much for the good work you're doing in the world. Nyoa, nyoa goa.
When man was first created, the animals spoke at that time. And man was still just in his infancy. The animals seen that man was struggling to survive. And so at that point, the animals all decided they needed to help man, and they helped by being food, so man could survive. And that's what happened. You know, man survived. They gave themselves to us so that we could improve ourselves. And now it's time for us to give back. And Agaidika means salmon eater. They've been named these things. It's a part of them. What do they become when they're not there?